When I am weaker than you, I ask you for freedom, because that is in accordance with your principles. When I am stronger than you, I take away your freedom, because that is in accordance with my principles. A Frank Herbert quote made for his Dune universe that seems custom-tailored for our current day predicament, as you are going to be seeing a lot more stuff like this very, very soon. So this is a tweet I came across literally today, which says, not that we need another take on this topic, but what would Twitter be without another useless opinion, so here's mine. Not everything is made for you. Don't like this? Totally fine. Don't incorporate it into your world. The end. It really is that easy in relations to the not at all orcs of new Dungeons and Dragons. So, why is this appearing now? Why is this a plea? Why is this plea for tolerance from the intolerant emerging now? Well, it is because the left is very much so aware, as is everybody else, that their cultural hegemony, their absolute dominance, is coming to an end. And extraordinarily swiftly as well. There has barely ever been any example of a political force that has been so utterly dominant collapsing so quickly as progressivism in the mainstream. It has taken barely 10 years for it to go from a position of where the mere accusation of not being progressive could get people cancelled from public life, get them fired from their jobs and removed from schools, to the point where wokeism in and of itself is absolute poison and recognized as such by the average individual. But now that this is happening, we are going to be seeing appeals to our principles. Just people enjoy their hobbies, says the man squatting in the carcass of 40k. Says the man squatting in the carcass of Dungeons and Dragons. Says the man squatting in the carcass of Star Wars. It's not for you. Not everything needs to be for everyone. If you don't like it, don't incorporate it. You can just ignore it. This is Dungeons and Dragons. This is not something that has simply been created out of nowhere. This isn't something that wasn't for other people. This is something you have claimed from others. This is stolen goods. This is something you have taken from a setting and turned into something different. You have created the Mexican orcs. You've created the horde of gay elves, where you can see every skin color beneath the sun, except for white. It is the setting where you have created the dwarves, where the entire point of their civilization is the doom of the dwarves. Not enough females, not enough breeding partners, a civilization in slow decline, a civilization of tough warriors and smiths, where you now have the man baking cakes and walking around in the forge in his goddamn sandals, which I am sure the flaking pieces of molten metal being smashed off this piece of vibranium or whatever is not at all going to disagree with his bare feet or anything. What even is this picture? Is it a forge? Is it a shop? Is it a bakery? Is it a cafe? As these seem to be sitting eating something. This is a universe that has been destroyed. It is not a simple case of going like, oh, well, if you don't like it very much, just ignore it. No, this is something you have ruined. This is somebody's property, somebody's house, somebody's existence, a universe that you have actually degraded into nothingness, that you have ground into a pulp. And of course, we are also going to see, weren't you asking the left to just make their own thing? Well, look at them. They're just making their own thing now. They're just making their thing for them. Their exclusive space. How can you complain? The time for coexistence has long since passed. We tried that. We tried that for a very, very long time. Now, we have fully arrived at the paradox of tolerance, the actual one. This much misquoted reference from Karl Popper, unlimited tolerance must lead to the disappearance of tolerance. Absolutely correctly. But unlike what it is often presented as, Karl Popper was not talking about fascists. He was talking about socialists, but of the red variety. I do not imply that we should always suppress the utterance of intolerance. As long as we can counter them by rational argument and keep them in check by public opinion, suppression would certainly be unwise. Now, the left actually managed to get around this very, very cleverly by taking the values of the dominant culture by public opinion and weaponizing it. It began with, oh hey, you don't like racism, right? No, of course not. We're in the 90s. In fact, we're pretty much on the precipice of solving racism. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so you must be an anti-racist, right? That's a strange term, but I guess, yes? Great. Here's a long list of all of the various suppositions and presuppositions that you will automatically have to agree with to adopt that label. Most of them are pretty far left, but I'm sure we'll work it out. That is how the left managed to coup so much power, by accusation. Because we did genuinely live in a time where the accusation alone was enough to ruin a man's life and career. Merely the suggestion that somebody was racist or anti-Semitic was enough to wipe them off the internet. And only in the last couple of years or so have we begun to see a reversal of this. And this is the important part. We should claim the right to suppress them with force if they reject the argument, because they may choose to answer arguments by the use of their fists or pistols. Now, we are not arriving at this point. We have gone beyond this point. This point arrived 10 years ago, and none of us had the faintest clue what was happening. We were all sitting there in essential shell shock. Again, I bring up this point every time. One of the first things I did politically was reading an article called "Tabletop Gaming Has a White Male Terrorist Problem." It was one of the craziest screes you could ever imagine from the early days of third wave feminism, where men weren't merely just being, mean to them, they were threatening rape to them publicly in front of other people, and the other people would just laugh at them like, ha ha ha, yes, you threatened that young girl with rape, but isn't that just our bro culture? Hey. Lies so blatant, so flagrant, that the only reaction from the majority of us was like, no, that's obviously ridiculous. Here, let me explain to you why you're wrong. And of course, engaging with the argument in good faith like that was the very problem. That was the issue. That was the in. Because it allowed the argument to be moved into the public sphere and be accepted as a mainstream thing. This was what allowed them to enter into virtually every single institution. The reason why they're taking the word race out of D&D is because of accusations of racism. The reason why Games Workshop now has felt the urge to put up a sticker on their doors, Warhammer is for everyone, but... Whereas before, there was no entry permit required in the 40k or the Warhammer hobby, of course, is because of progressivism. The very fact that Star Wars is now being made for covens of lesbian space witches, and the only white guy is the dude in the Wookiee suit, is because of this, is because of the political ideology behind it. They have already used their fists and their pistols, and only now are we beginning to bring them in check by public opinion. This is an enemy that has proven itself to be doctrinally intolerant. An enemy that has proven itself willing to do anything, use any means whatsoever to suppress its opposition, up to and including destroying their lives. No, we should not simply let live. We should not be, oh, you like this thing? Well, that's fine, I guess. You can have that thing. No, we should actively deny them their things because their things are bad for us. Their things are actually intolerant. Their things are actually racist, as we see right now with Disney and the Disney tapes, showing for the umpteenth time that when these people get in power within a corporation, they institute the intolerance they accuse others of. They institute the racism they accuse others of. Whenever a leftist asks you for anything, assume he wants that thing, but for it to be in his control. Thus, when somebody asks you, oh hey, it's totally fine, it's harmless, just don't incorporate it in your world, just let us carve out our piece of your hobby, your answer should be no. Because we have seen what you have done with our tolerance. What happened when somebody let you in was this. It was the destruction of the thing. It was the reduction of it to its most base, uninteresting, and non-fantastical elements. It is the reduction of orcs and dwarves and elves to nothing more than Californian humanity, inspired first and foremost by ideological demand and reason. No, you do not get to have your thing. No, you do not get to have your hobby. No, you do not get to make your own thing. You have radicalized us. And as now, well, from where I'm sitting, the suppression of my opposition is looking like an awfully fine virtue to me. So thank you, progressivism. If nothing else, you have taught us, well, you have equipped us with the tools to fight you. For that, if nothing else, we should be grateful. So remember, everyone, gatekeep, gatekeep always. Burn them out of every space you can, because if you do not, they will do it to you. I have been Arch. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.